that? Whoa, that
Oops.
looked almost like you were running around naked there for a minute, but it was just some moves.
I was trying to get this accomplished before music stopped, but my timing was inaccurate. There's a lot of cord to this microphone for some reason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to.
You want some cord with your microphone?
No, you don't. I don't. I want cordless mics. That's the only thing that you should ever have is cordless stuff. Hey, check this out. Ready?
That never breaks down and doesn't work.
Shush. Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. I like it. Very nice.
Isn't that great?
Still in the holiday spirit.
Yeah. Spirit. I get it. Spirit. Good one.
You see what I did there?
Yeah, I sure did. I saw all of it. Yo, YouTube. Welcome back to another live show with myself, Charlie from JC3 Cards and Collectibles, and some goats, a Halloween goat. I also have a Christmas goat here somewhere. I don't know where he's hanging out right now, but here he is.
Here's hibernation.
Here's Christmas goat. Yeah, he's getting ready though. He's getting ready. On November 1st, Mariah Carey comes out riding Christmas goat. Be ready. You all better be ready. We've got a show for you tonight. Charlie's like into this like tech side of things. So I try to shoot him an idea as early as I can come up with it anyway. Say, hey, this is what I want to talk about. And then he comes back with, all these presentation materials and everything, which is great.
What I do.
You should almost do that for a living, Charlie.
You're the idea guy, and then I refine it.
Nah, I like that. I'm fine with that. I just have to come up with the ideas. You do the work. Anyway, so my concept for this week's episode is let me just start by telling you where it stems from. So there's been a lot of conversation lately about, value boxes are dead and no one's buying out of them and the dealers aren't selling out of them and so forth. So I kind of wanted to come up with what are some strategies when you're buying out of these boxes? And what you want to do anytime something is being ignored is that's when you want to get in. Sure. So if the dollar boxes and the quarter boxes at your shows are sitting by you, this is probably a good time to thumb through them, use the good principles we're going to try to share with you tonight. And you guys will hopefully pitch in and share as well. And just kind of some friendly reminders of how to handle the boxes. Some do's and don'ts, some looking for opportunities and so forth. Charlie put together a nice little slideshow presentation. Are you going to show it or do you want me to show it? Because I know you sent it to me. I read it, but
I think it's usually easier for you if I share the screens. Like I can move us along through it, but you can talk through it. Okay. These are just our opinions, some things we put together. By no means are we going to tell you that this is the only way to look at it. I'm sure the chat will be lively tonight with, some of the things you guys have experienced and some of the ways you guys think about these. So by all means, chat away on that. We want to hear your ideas as well. But these were just kind of an accumulation of some points of emphasis when you're digging through those boxes. And when Adam and I looked at some of the things we put together, we kind of agreed, yeah, that's, I don't know if I ever said it that way, but that's kind of how I look at it, right? So,
yeah, and Charlie's totally wrong. These are rules of law, and you must abide by them. Yeah.
That's fair.
No deviation.
Anything I shared with you, you didn't come back and say, "Well, I don't like that."
No. This is it right here, folks. You want something to live your life by? You need a code. You need your code. Like Dexter has a code, right?
Yeah.
This could be your code. So we're willing to share that tonight.
Well, I'm sure you've been listening to my podcast, Adam, right? You listen to
Yes,
it every week.
absolutely.
And
Yep.
one of the things I always kind of put emphasis on is a repeatable playbook. You know, football, coaching. I'm always thinking like a playbook, and that's kind of what we put together here tonight to share with you. And we heard the request for more visuals on some things, so we just made it so that while we're talking about it, we can share it on screen with you as well.
Yeah, I think that's it. In some ways, it helps us too, right? If we have something on there, everyone loves a cue card.
Yeah.
If you've ever done any acting or any types of, larger presentations, it's nice to have some monitors to read and keep you on track. So that's kind of our take out of this as well. Now, there are some vast differences between quarter boxes and dollar boxes, and there are some very similar things between the two. So you're going to see some overlaps, and then you're going to see some things that kind of deviate from each other.
Right.
There's also, because of what we specialize in, this is what we focus on, was quarters and dollars. There's also some slightly separate rules for, say, $3 boxes, $5 boxes, $10 boxes. So if we got time, we'll kind of throw some of that in there too. And some of you can give us feedback, of course, as well. So for all those here live, we appreciate you joining us tonight. If you're watching this recorded, we're on every Wednesday, 8 Central Standard Time. Join us so you can participate. But yeah, I think if we can get some conversation going with this, I think that will make it a lot more digestible than us just reading cue cards to you.
We also kind of went through this twice. We looked at it in the view of sports cards, but then we took the same view and went through it again for non-sport cards.
Yeah, it's funny because when we started this, it was sports cards, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of, I do non-sport cards, but nobody ever really wanted to talk about it or look at any of it. So it's kind of fun now that we get to, bring it in a lot more than we used to.
Non-sports like this.
Non-sports like, hey, that's Jackass.
Yep.
Speaking of non-sports, just to sort of sidebar real quick here before we get into the slides of the show, the GOAT Show is sold out once. Some extra tables were opened up, sold out again. So the demand keeps growing for the show, which is a good thing.
It really does.
It's this Sunday, September 28th at the historic Riverside Ballroom in Green Bay. Thanks, Charlie. So you can see the flyer there. We do have some giveaways. We actually have a couple extra giveaways too. It's just not updated on the flyer. So try to bring a non-perishable good. We're donating that to a charity, and then that gets you a ticket in the drawing for those prizes. We've got the Hide a Goat game. You can walk around, try to find one of the little goats hidden amongst the different dealer areas. And if you find one, you get some money towards the show, some goat bucks.
That's right.
And if you find the gold one, you get the $25 goat bucks. So you want to try to look for that. Free kids packs when the kids come in the door. We've got some Halloween packs for them. We've got some different sports packs, squishmallows, just some kids packs, some repack stuff. So you want to bring them early, so we still have some of that before we run out, and you can get a hold of that. We have our hashtag banner, so you, when you're done at the show, you can go take a photo and share it with the hashtag, and we have some prizes for that as well. We've got Benji. We just found out today Benji's BB Breaks is going to break live, so they'll be on stage with some video monitors, so you can watch them breaking the packs live, and they're going to be breaking the brand new, just came out today, Topps Chrome Disney product. A case of blasters, and then when I talked to Benji today, he said depending on how it it books up, they'll do a second break. I'm pretty sure it's getting booked up. I booked 3 spots myself, so I was pretty excited about this.
Yeah,
It's the first ever Topps Chrome Disney product.
I
It's
stopped
going to be
in
huge.
an LCS that we frequent here today, and they had some of that on the shelf. I was checking it out. It looks pretty sharp.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what to expect with Topps Chrome. That's why I think a lot of people are in it right away. Refractors are going to be great. The inserts look nice. Of course, there'll be parallels. There'll be 101s. Super fractors. It's kind of funny. It came out today, and maybe an hour or two into release today, somebody pulled the 101 Walt Disney card.
Of course.
Like, well, that didn't take long. Because that's probably the biggest chase in the whole product. I would suspect. Um, Congratulations to them, but yeah. So unfortunately, that won't be in our case. But lots of really cool cards, parallels, numbered stuff, and Disney's just always a banger.
Yeah.
And I segued into this because we were just talking about non-sports, and it's like we're having a live break at our show, and it's not sports cards. It's crazy. BB will be there. BB Sports will be there with plenty of other boxes and packs and stuff that you can buy as well. And hopefully we'll be adding another break. I'll talk to him again tomorrow and see where we're at on that. And if we get another one, we'll make a post on the Goat Show Facebook page. But looking like a great show. Weather's supposed to be pretty good. We got plenty of parking. Lots of great dealers, more dealers than we've ever had before at the show.
Yeah.
So stop on out 9 to 2 at Riverside Ballroom. Anything you want to add to that?
Just remember, ATMs on site, food on site, plenty of parking, easy in and out. Just everything you could possibly need to spend a day looking at cards, buying cards, and just talking with like-minded individuals about the hobby we all love.
And the Packers don't play till that night, so if you're going to be in the area and you're a Packer fan, you're not going to be missing anything that way. And if you watched the game last week, you wouldn't have missed anything then either. It was pretty bad. Okay. Enough of that. That's our show promotion. So we're finally hitting it this weekend. We do have a date for our next show. We'll talk about that next week. We'll allow our current dealers to book first, and then we'll open it up for public booking, I guess, if you want to call it that. And we book up quick. We had 60% booking just from the previous show, like within a week. So the dealers are, they're doing well. They want to hang on to their spots, and they're just buying right away for the next show. So makes our jobs easier too. Then
it certainly does.
Actually, we actually have booked enough tables that Charlie and I are not going to set up this time. So we're going to be running around helping some stuff. We'll do our live show on the stage. A couple other things we want to do with dealers, and we'll be buyers, of course. So we get to just participate kind of more in what's going on at the show rather than, manning some tables.
Although I got a little bit of pushback from the boys that they wanted to sell, so we're gonna have to work something out for them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at a show, you don't even need a table to sell anymore. The dealers all buy. So you can just kind of walk around with your stuff and, and pitch right to the dealers and, probably get your sales that way without having to pay the table fee. Yeah. So, all right. So that's enough of the Goat Show. Let's get into, we're about 14 minutes in. Let's start our quarter versus dollar box conversation.
Dollar box. Like, is Quarter Box another channel on YouTube or what?
It is. It's about a quarter of the size of mine.
I see what you did there. That was nice.
Jeez. Hey, Kate, where's the oven mitts? Why? The cat won't fit in the toaster.
Yeah.
Yep. I love Alf.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about quarter boxes versus dollar boxes, some strategies, how to find some winners, maybe some cards to avoid. It can be just as smart to know what not to get, and just how they differ. How they differ when you're digging in a quarter box, dollar box. Quarter box, kind of what I would say aligns with a dime box, also.
Yeah.
For the most part. But there's some similarities in the things that you're looking for too. So we're gonna some of that and see what all of your opinions are on it as well and experiences.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think for quarter box, we kind of lump in anything less than $1, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Because there's a definite kind of tiered difference to how they're presented and what you can expect to find in them and what the value is coming out. So that dollar box is kind of that cliff, if you will, that you're gonna take a step off the edge to those lower value boxes, and your expectations need to adjust a little bit.
For sure.
All right, so we're gonna start with a discussion
That's a quarter.
on that's a quarter with
Uh-huh.
quarter boxes in the sports world, and we'll talk a little bit about the pros and cons to get started. So how about some pros, Adam?
Pros, that's where you can find some very nice hidden gems. Dealers spend little time analyzing what's in there. They know they're better than commons, right? They should be if they're in a quarter box, but they don't feel like they're necessarily worth enough to like comp them, right? So especially if it's cards they don't understand, which happens a lot with non-sport, they might just say, well, this isn't something I know about. It doesn't look fancy. It's not numbered. Toss it in the quarter box. Their cost on it might be 4 or 5 cents. So quarter to them is fine. It's a fair return if you can sell enough quantity. Also, it's low risk. You can take a chance on some stuff here or there. You got a quarter tied up into it. So low capital investment. You can put some more time on it. You don't have to necessarily flip it right away and recover those assets. You can, sit on it in a bag for 6-8 months, before you try to more aggressively move it.
Right.
And then volume deals, of course. This is the perfect quarter boxes are the perfect opportunity to pile a big bulk, and try to buy your way down on them from there.
Yeah, and I think for me, going back to the premise we started this show on, with me being the new seller, the rookie, if you will, I think the low risk was really inviting to me as I was kind of learning my way through it. To your point earlier, yeah, if you grab some cards that don't flip the way you thought, there's very, very little upfront investment. It's an affordable way to learn more about the market, right?
And then, one comment additionally to add to the low risk section of this, or hidden gem section, I guess for both, applies to both. If you you find one big card in there, like at the National, that Garbage Pail Kids card that I found I sold for $60 that I bought for a quarter.
Yeah.
You can go, okay, well now I really have no risk. I can buy a whole bunch of this stuff and I know I've got a pile of money sitting right here. And these, sure thing cards that I did find with value that I know about. So it's a great way to learn without taking a lot of risk, without a huge capital investment. Still a little better than trying to get to dime cards where it might be players you don't know. It's base cards, not a lot of, flip potential. Yeah, a lot lower price, but probably some names of players you don't know, things like that. You should be in quarter boxes. You should find something that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
To an untrained eye, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, what about some of the cons of working through those quarter boxes?
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Some condition can be a problem because a lot of times they're not sleeved. They're not, kept nice. It's the tail end of a collection that was bought, or just something that was thrown together from a bunch of different collections that were bought, that kind of thing, and then just kind of get into 5-row boxes, 4-row boxes, shoe boxes, whatever,
Yep.
and then lugged from show to show, to try to sell at volume and get some of the money out of that. A lot of times it's harder to make enough profit on those cards to warrant the expenses of shipping and eBay fees and all that. So you might find great margins, but if you're only going to make $1 on it, and now it costs you, and you do free shipping, now you've got the price of the stamp, you got the envelope, you've got the eBay's fee, all that, you're not going to make any money on it at that point. So you have to kind of find not just your margin, but you got to make sure you can cover your expenses of shipping the sale. So that's the thing. The one thing I sort of disagreed with was rarely pull something $5 to $10. I would say that I actually do that all the time out of quarter boxes. Most of my better buys from the National were quarter boxes. I found some case hits, and the last set of tables I went to at the very end on Sunday, where everything should have already been picked through. I found a whole bunch of $5, $7, $10 cards. I found a bunch of Fleer Provisions in there. Like I said, a few case hits. I got, I'm trying to think of something specific, but some better Nolan Ryans. I found some Silver Prism Nolan Ryans. I mean, that's $5 to $7 right there, $8.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. We're saying rarely find something over $10.
True. But I would, I don't know. I think it really depends on what show you're at, what dealer you're buying from, and what they're doing with it. I mean, we tend to buy from dealers who buy these big collections. They just want the higher end stuff. That's what they're dealing with, and then they just want to unload the rest, and are generally selling to us, right, resellers, because we're the ones buying 2,000 cards at a time or whatever. And I feel like I can hit some over $10 stuff doing that. But yeah, it's the condition gamble is probably the bigger one. You want to kind of look at stuff a little bit. That's where it's nice when it's at a show, because you can actually go through it. There's some nice cards that I found in quarter boxes that I just couldn't buy because they had creases and things like that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking at like vintage and condition sensitive stuff. You have to look at that a little bit closer in those quarter boxes. Now, some quarter boxes are really well taken care of. Everything's sleeved, organized. You can tell it wasn't just, a bunch of boxes that had been thrown around for years. So depending on, how it's collated and curated, however you want to put it, to be brought to present to a show, you could do a little bit better on some of those boxes that are more taken care of.
Yeah. I think that the biggest one that stands out for me is it is pretty time intensive. Like when you go to a quarter box or a dime box, there are going to be a lot of cards that you look through that aren't even close to anything you would pick up. But you got to kind of go through all that to find the good stuff, right? And there's just so much of it in those quarter boxes and dime boxes that we talk about the grind. That can really be a grind. That's where your feet start hurting a little more and your back starts hurting a little more, because you're digging through a lot of junk to get what you want out of there.
Yeah, I think I've kind of broken that spell a little bit over the last few years, because I can generally grab a stack or two out of a box and start going and go, this isn't going to do it. I'm just not going to find enough in here to make it worth my time. Mm-hmm. Or, man, I'm pulling this out. Again, I bring up that final dealer at the National, like there shouldn't have been anything left in those boxes, but grabbed a couple handfuls just to see what they were like, and I was finding a bunch of good stuff. $4 or $5 cards for a quarter that's great. There's nothing going to hold me back from that. So I sat there for hours, and just then pulled. So yeah, I think you have to kind of do some evaluation early on, because yeah, the other thing is if you spend all your time at those boxes and don't get anything out of them, now you've missed your opportunity somewhere else too.
Sure. That
So
is
there's
absolutely true.
opportunity cost as well.
Because usually you can't make it to every table in a show and thoroughly go through it. Absolutely not at the national, but
No.
even local shows can be kind of tough to get through everything too.
Yeah, and you got to budget your time. I mean, you want to, I consider it my job when I go to these shows, that I need to make my hours that are there worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I'm not getting paid otherwise. So, it depends on if you're just doing it for fun or you're just looking for side flips or you need, you're trying to do it to earn a living. Your time investment might value a little differently to you based on that.
Yeah. Let's go sports cards. P&W has a comment that is on the money here for what we're talking about. He says, I think your knowledge of cards plays into knowing you found good cards. If you have little or no knowledge, you don't know what you're passing up.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Because the challenge to a quarter box, something we didn't mention, but and I guess it feeds into the time intensive part. But you're not going to sit there and look them all up.
Yeah.
So you know, it's sometimes I chuckle when I watch some of these YouTube videos and somebody walks up and they say, hey, hey, how much is it for that card? Well, let me look up. And, like you have 25 cards in your case and that's it, and you don't know the value of them. Like
Yeah.
that just shocks me, and it's like I guess you got time to sit there and look everything up, but um, we we have to have knowledge to a different level because there's millions of cards we have to have a fairly basic knowledge of at least on, and then you have to be able to do that essentially from memory because you can't look them all up. No, there are times where I'll pull something out of a card box and I'm like, oh, I think this was really good, or this was an error, or is this his rookie card? I can't remember. And I'll look up, maybe I'll pull a stack of 100 cards out. I might look up like 3 of them or 5 of
Yeah.
them or so, you know what I mean? So there might be a few where, but honestly, in most cases, I'd just be like, man, it's another quarter card. Throw it on the pile. I'll take the chance on it.
Yeah.
Hope to buy down in quantity, and you're getting a bunch of free cards anyway out of it. Or at least, depending on how you view it, you get some free cards, or you're, buying down the price, one or the other.
Right.
So, yeah, he's exactly right. You do have to kind of know what you're doing before. I would never like if you wanted to get started in this, you wanted to flip low end cards. I would not start by digging through quarter boxes on your first day.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny talks about comping cards at the value boxes too. He says, "Evening, fellas. The rare times I go to a show, if the dealer starts camping prices while I'm waiting, I just walk away. I don't need a car that bad. Any card that bad."
Yeah, if it's different if it's a big card or it's something
Yeah,
special for your PC, or once in a lifetime opportunity for a card you've been looking for. It's a little different. You might throw some patience into it, but I agree. I had a couple dealers even at the national where it was like I had stacks of quarter cards and I'm like, I don't know, I got like 100 cards here, and they start counting them and I'm like, are you kidding me? you know.
yeah,
Um and I just probably won't buy from those dealers again. I don't have a great memory, but I do for certain things. One of them is to know who I like to deal with when I go to these shows and
right.
who I want to avoid. I have my pro list and my shit list, pretty well memorized. And I try not to deviate from it because I don't want to get disappointed more than once. And I don't
Yeah,
want to miss an opportunity at a dealer I know I can buy from. So,
absolutely.
if you're regularly going to a show, that's something I'd add into this too. If you're regular going to shows, get to know some of the dealers. Like if it's a dealer you buy from all the time, hey, this is who I am. I have a YouTube channel, I buy and sell, I bought from you last time, what kind of a deal can you give me this time? Build some rapport. And you might be surprised. They might be like, hey, I got another quarter box back here. No one's looked through yet. Do you want to look through it? Or hey, I know you're always looking for, these types of cards in my boxes. I brought some extra stuff, or I brought this box of, Joe Montana's just for you to look through because I know you buy Joe Montana. So, you can kind of make the process a little favor you a little bit, if you can make some light business partnerships, in your time,
Yeah,
at shows and shops and, all those types of places you would make deals.
absolutely. Snappy's with us. He says sometimes putting in the time at the value box helps build those long-term relationships that blossom into better cards, values, or access to fresh boxes down the road. And he's talking specifically for local shows, and I think he's
Yeah.
right on the money with that.
Yeah,
And
basically him and I were saying the exact same thing. It makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. And Jay goes a step further. He says that goes for dealers and buyers too. Some buyers you want to just cut loose.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's such a thing as bad customers.
Absolutely.
It doesn't go quite as far as it does on the dealer side though, because if they're going to give you money, you're probably going to want to sell them something.
Yeah, it just depends on how much effort goes into a transaction every time.
Yeah, and if they keep walking away from deals,
Mhm.
that will get old after a while for sure.
It's yeah, that especially. I talked about that in one of my shows recently, that you want to give a dealer something that tells them you're a serious buyer and not just a casual, viewer of what's on their table.
That's one of the reasons I always pay with cash too,
Mhm.
because they're more apt to make some kind of a deal. You can kind of, flop out a few 20s real easy and show that, few hundreds, whatever level buyer you are, and kind of show them, hey, I've come with money. I'm looking to spend, can we get this stuff, can you let this stuff go? And it's something I can pick up.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I'm sorry.
let's
Go ahead.
shift, let's shift gears a little bit. We've positioned ourselves in front of a quarter box. We understand the pros and cons. Let's talk a little bit about what maybe some of those targets you can expect to find in a quarter box might be.
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow, yeah, for sure. For sure. I find Tim Tebow in quarter boxes.
Mm-hmm. Kyler Murray rookies.
Boo.
He's having a good year. Having a good
Is he?
year.
I haven't really heard too much about him.
Yeah, they're undefeated. I mean, 2-0, but
Yeah. But to
yeah.
your point, rookie cards of mid-tier stars are often pretty easy to find in there. You will
Mhm.
find the occasional major star too. You might find a raw rookie in there every once in a while, maybe with some soft corners or something. But
That's where I play a lot of my super low end rookies, like Sage Hit and stuff like that. I love those cards.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
And those insert sets that people often overlook. Now, you, in my opinion, working with you for a few years now on this, you are a wizard on knowing those insert sets that people like to collect and are very liquid. Like, you've got a great memory for that.
Yeah, you know, I don't know why I remember certain things over others. I think most of us could say that about a lot of different things, but yeah, I just certain things stick with me, and especially if I get a sale on it. That's where things really change for me, because I will, buy a few things on chance or whatnot. Not whatnot, but whatnot. um, I'll buy a couple of different cars, just taking a chance, and then boom, I get a sale on it. Oh, it's in there now. Now I know exactly what I can sell it for, and I can look for other cards like that or different cards from that same insert set. And yeah, very done me very well. Made me a
Yeah,
lot of money.
for sure. Snappy says he likes looking for image variations in quarter boxes. Those are sneaky. They can easily end up in there because people don't recognize them. Dealers might not recognize them when they put them in there. Jay says Bowman paper first Bowman cards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
I think the
Yep,
papers can end up in there a lot.
yep.
Uh, he also says retail blaster inserts and parallels. And then Wolfie Joe has got the next thing on the list here. He says he looks for quarter bin cards that don't look normal. So oddball cards,
Yeah, buddy.
promos, things like that. Water
Yep.
skiing squirrels. Well, that would be more non-sport, but um, you
Well, it
know,
was a Sports Illustrated for Kids card, though.
that's true. That's true. Like I
So,
like to grab Shaq cards where he's mean mugging or something like that, making a
mhm.
goofy face, things like that. You just
Cards
don't
where
see it
they're
very
where
often.
someone's got like a giant cell phone.
Yes,
You
yes, the
know.
giant cell phone or a bat that says F face.
Yes,
You won't.
right.
You shouldn't find that in a quarter box though.
Unfortunately, no, no. If you do buy that, yes,
That one's too well known
regardless of what variation it is, even if it's not the actual F face one, if it's the other versions, still buy those out of a quarter box.
for sure. For sure. Snappy says he also likes to look for good rookie cards of future prospects that aren't due to hit the major leagues in the next year. Average Dave says rookie cards of players just starting. For example, Cal Raleigh.
I made
Um,
a ton of money off of Cal Raleigh cards from the National this year. I was
right.
finding them in quarter boxes all over. I just sold an optic rookie yesterday, I think. Yesterday
Yeah.
or 2 days ago. Um, yeah, those are great if you know who you're looking for. I'm not as good on the baseball prospecting. And I
Okay.
know Snappy said earlier too, looking for card variations. I suck at those. Most of the time when I find them, it's because I flip through so many cards, that you see multiple copies of cards regularly, and I'll be like, oh, Acuna, 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 and then I'll look at one, and I'll be like, that doesn't look like the Acuna I looked at earlier,
Yeah.
and that's usually my clue of, okay, I bet this is an image variation or something
Mhm.
special.
Yeah,
Um,
image variations are fun because they're very subtle a lot of times, but your eye sees it and says something doesn't seem normal there. I don't know what it is, but something doesn't seem normal.
yeah, yeah, and again, if it's out of a quarter box and you think it might be special, just buy it.
What's the risk? Yeah.
Especially if it's a good name player or somebody you can selling a lot later or selling a multi-card sale or something, like you're not going to lose on the quarter.
Yeah, and if you're stacking cards for a bulk deal, you're probably going to get it for 10 cents.
Right.
Yeah. Wolfie Joe says he once got a Topps Heritage Team employee card, got it for 25 cents, sold it for over 60. Yep. So you can
Ooh,
find
who
those hidden treasures in there.
who was on the card? That's what I'm curious about.
Uh, Sally Johnson.
From HR.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Uh,
Jay likes to get mini cards out of the quarter box too.
nice. Yep, mini
He's
cards are
got,
great plays.
yep, Allen and Ginter wrong backs or bazooka backs out of 25. In fact, I just sold a Tim Lincecum, the freak. I sold a numbered mini recently that I pulled out of a quarter box because it was just hidden in the pile, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. And then there's also those star guys like Trout, Harper, Colby, and Curry. You're going to get the common versions of those. You're probably not going to find too many of the parallels, and it would be pretty rare you would find one of those in a serial numbered card in a quarter box, but you will find the commons. I come across those quite a bit.
I would buy every 25-cent Kobe card you can ever find
Absolutely.
ever.
Absolutely.
Even if it has a corner torn off, buy that.
Yep. I don't come across Kobe and Curry too much in those, but I do come
No.
across Trout and Harper quite a bit.
Yeah, and you'll see like LeBron sometimes and,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Rodman, and like there's some other really good basketball names too, but baseball seems to be a little more prolific, and then uh football, especially if they're not current players. Barry
Foosball,
Sanders.
Devil's Game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we kind of got an idea of what we're looking at in quarter boxes. Let's talk just for a second about what's the outlook on that. Then you've set up at a quarter box, you've built a pile. Looking ahead, when you go to sell those, what kind of outlook can you expect on that in terms of an ROI?
Yeah, I mean, bare minimum I charge for any card is $1.99. So even if we looked at worst case scenario, if I asked $1 and it sold for $1.99, I got what, $1.10, something like that in expenses generally. I got about 90 cents I make on that card. Then you take out what the card costs, a quarter. So you're making what, 70 cents, 65 cents, something like that, 60 cents. So you got to sell a lot of them. Like that's kind of the moral of the story with that. If you're going to just play quarter boxes,
Absolutely.
you're going to be busy, labor intensive. But that's if you sell it at $1.99. If you're finding $4, $5, $6, $7 cards, now you're turning around some pretty nice chunks of change.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the typical success story out of a quarter box is you're finding those quarter cards, or if it's a bulk buy, 8 to 10 cent cards that you can then turn around and sell for $2 to $3, and make a little bit of profit there. Some of those you can actually, if you put out show boxes as well, a lot of times you can find a card in a quarter box at one show that you put in your dollar box at another show.
Yeah, I've done that before too.
Yeah, and then you've got that occasional, big card you can find that you're selling for, like you said, those cards at the National, $5, $7, $10. Wolfie Joe found a $60 card. You can find some of those treasures. The flip side, though, is in general, your turnover speed is going to be a little slower out of those quarter boxes, right? It's a lot more common cards and a lot more competition. So we rated those out slow to moderate turn times for a lot of those quarter box cards.
I think you can increase that a bit by doing it in live selling, just trying to move stuff as fast as you can. Combining some stuff into lots, team player lots, stuff like that. Then also trying to get multi-card sales. So instead of, you bought 500 cards, instead of selling them one by one, get 10 card orders, 20 card orders, 30 card orders. I had a 240 card order today in eBay. That's moving a lot of quarter cards at one time. And I'm not saying they were all quarter cards, but, if you can turn some of the stuff around as fast as you got it, even if you have to give up some of the profit in order to get the bigger sale, that's what you need to do for sure.
Right. Absolutely. Well, overall then, let's move on to dollar boxes and go through the same analysis on that. So looking at the pros to stepping up to a dollar box, what do you got?
All right, so we want more consistent chance to find $5 to $15 cards, less digging, usually less quantity to dig through, curated better with less junk. Cards were generally looked at, so finding kind of that hidden home run in there is not as likely. They're flip friendly. A lot of times there's more market for those cards. There's parallels, bigger names, numbered cards, things like that have a little bit more, what we like to say, hobby.
Yes.
So your time committed is a little bit less, but generally your ROI percentages are going to be smaller.
Yeah, I guess I would expand on your comment about, finding that big card in there. So Wolfie Joe's example of that $60 Sabrina Doino card for the Yankees. You're going to probably find fewer of those because they are curated more. But what you'll get in exchange for that is a more consistent return on, those $10 cards, $20 cards, something like that. So your ceiling is a little more capped on your biggest fine, but your return is consistently higher than you're probably going to get out of a quarter box.
Yeah, and I happen to have a stack of stuff here that I bought out of a dollar box. And you like here's a die cut silver prism Emmett Smith, right? That's an easy flip. Here's a speak of the devil, a numbered Tim Tebow card. Um, here's a Favre refractor Topps chrome insert. Um, here's a Favre 90s insert. It's nice and die cut and shiny and sparkly and all those fun things that you want to have. Cards that are of better brands, so you've got your Flair Showcase, huge amount of buyers for those. You got rookie die cuts, Mark Brunell. Tom Brady stuff. Tom Brady stuff will always sell. You got some more chase parallel type stuff. Like here's a couple of checkerboard selects. Not huge names. They are Cowboys, which influenced me, but here's a big name silver prism, Joe Montana. Like this is all stuff that I can sell within, and I will sell within a couple of days. It's amazing how much stuff I can list in a day and how much is already gone by the next morning when I get up. So
Yeah.
you can jump back in now, Charlie. I just kind of wanted to I just happen to have a dollar stack with me, so I just kind of wanted to show like this is stuff that I bought for a dollar, some stuff you should be expecting.
Pick up from the quarter box.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if those are the pros, what about some of the cons?
More competition, lots of other diggers, higher buy-in, so obviously more capital up front. And the dealers are looking through this stuff a lot of the times. I want to add one more pro. We kind of went right into the cons. I had one more thing to add, if that's okay.
Sure.
Good, because it's my show. A lot of times you can get decent supplies with it. So you're going to get nice clean sleeves, top loads, card savers, things like that. And that does matter to me. That brings the buy price down a little bit because I can reuse those supplies for shipping. So you're more likely to get that out of a dollar card than you are a quarter card. That's why I wanted to point it out here.
That's a good point.
So the cons, more competition. Yes, I think right now it's slowed down. There's less people that want to do the digging, which is great. I don't know if I've seen that in our area or if you have. I haven't been to a lot of shows. I don't need a lot of inventory, but felt like at the National, everybody was going through the box. Like I didn't see any slowdown at any of the shows that I have been to.
Sure. I think there are buyers that have it predetermined in their mind that the quarter boxes aren't worth their time, so they just only go to the dollar boxes, and that's where you get more competition in those.
Yeah, I would say that's true, and it's not as overwhelming because you don't have these boxes of random strewn about, unsleeved cards where you're like, why would I want those?
Right.
Dollar boxes tend to be a little more well marketed, taken care of. Now, one of the things where you said the higher buy-in, that's true. Obviously, $1 is more than a quarter, but I feel like a lot of times I can get better discounts on dollar cards than I can quarter cards, which seems weird if you're buying quantity. There's a lot of times I can get 200 cards for $120, right? Whereas I feel like on quarter cards, about the best I can do is maybe 20 cents, 15 cents, per card by the time you're done. Because the numbers just start looking so small that the dealer's like, I don't want to go that low,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's some of it's probably psychological, I'm guessing, but I feel like I can talk myself into a slightly better deal when I'm doing dollar cards.
Yep, absolutely. Lofi Joe's got a smart comment here. Going back to your supplies. Going back to dime and 25-cent bins, if I see something in a clean top loader, I may just buy it for the top loader.
Yeah, I've done that too. Absolutely. Why not? the card was free, right? You got the
Part of your
top load.
business.
Yeah, exactly. Supplies aren't free, outside of this type of buying. So yeah, take it if you can get it.
Yeah.
Um, and when I first started doing like card show videos, I haven't done one of those in a long time where I'm like going through the show and I'm looking at the inventory and I kind of do a voiceover of what I'm doing when I'm there. I talk about that all the time. Like, well, these were top loaded, so instead of 75 cents a card, it's like I paid 65 cents or 69 cents, whatever it was, because I
Yeah.
got the top load in the sleeve. And had a lot of comments from people that are like, I never even thought of that. Like that does have value. But if you're a mail order business, like shipping supplies, that can be a large part of your expense.
When's the
Um,
last time you had to buy top loaders?
I haven't
Exactly.
probably, I don't know, years, obviously. I do buy card savers because I very rarely get cards in card savers at shows. Um, so those I have to buy, but yeah, I don't buy top loads and I very rarely buy penny sleeves. Usually if I get penny sleeves, I get them on some deal where if I bought the card savers, I got the penny sleeves free, or a couple times I bought the the gold standard, or what is it? It's the cardboard gold.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
cardboard gold sleeves. They were doing like $40 free shipping for a box of 10,000 sleeves. Um, you can get the stuff pretty. That's point. Oh, that's 4/10 of a penny is what you're paying for that sleeve.
Yeah.
Um, but still, if I can go get a bunch of free sleeves and get cards that I can resell out of it, hell yeah, I'd rather do that. You know, put your money into your inventory and not your operating expenses, which is what shipping supplies are.
Absolutely. Snappy says with dollar boxes, he has to evaluate the quote unquote freshness of the box. Are these great,
Yeah.
good, or bad values at a dollar? Sometimes you can have a chat with the dealer and everything becomes 50 cents plus bulk discount.
Yeah, and sometimes that can open you up too to say, "Hey, what if I take the whole box?
Yeah.
Will you do $100 for the box or something like that?" Um, but I agree. That's kind of what I alluded to earlier, where I can grab a stack, the first stack of cards out of the box, look at them, and go, "This box isn't going to work for me," or "Hey, there's something here." Like, I've got a good stack of stuff already started, and then it does feel like it's worth your time anyway, because even if you've just found a few cards right at the beginning, you're already going to be committed to a buy. So now you want to bulk it up because you want to get your best buy you can.
Absolutely.
And I think fresh boxes is also a good point. Like, does this look like a box that the dealer has just brought to like 9 shows in a row and has never done anything with, and the best stuff is gone, and this is just trying to get rid of what's left over?
Yeah.
You don't want to be the buyer of leftovers. You probably, if good resellers had gone through that, you probably don't have a ton of opportunity.
Right. Well, let's talk about the targets that you're likely to find in a dollar box.
Color, parallel, prism, stars, rookies, undervalued numbered cards, short prints, iconic inserts, highly collected, tops chrome refractors, select courtside, optic hollows, etc.
Uh-oh,
Yeah,
we're
I
missing
think
a P in tops. Who proofed
that's
these?
okay. I got the idea. Um, I think that's the key to this, because I generally just buy stars. I mean, obviously rookie cards of you know kind of sure thing prospects, if you will, but I can find plenty of Joe Montana cards and Favre base cards in quarter boxes. That's great. But there's, a lot of that's so overprinted, and, but if I can get a parallel of those guys, it's like, it moves like that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Especially like 90s, 2000s tops chrome refractors. Whew, that's easy money. And it's a good name, of course, helps. But yeah, I think that's the real advantage to the dollar, is you have the dollar boxes inventory. You have some like demand equity going in right away, if that makes sense. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I'm making it a thing.
It's a thing now.
Um, yeah, because it's a good card of a good set of a good player, and now it's a parallel. Like you start kind of like when we do hobby or no, right? So
Right.
Charlie brings a card out, and I say, well, it's this player who has some hobby, but it's also a short print, and then it's a parallel, and then it's this popular set that people buy. Yeah, good point. Liquidity. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is liquidity. Um, yeah, it adds to the. I don't mind paying more for something if I feel like I can sell it right away,
Sure.
right? Because let's say I walked into the show and I handed Charlie a $10 bill, and I knew at the end of the show he was going to be giving me a $20 bill. It really doesn't matter what card it is that Charlie's representing, um, because I know that I can at least get that $20,
Right.
and have that I don't know. I'm doing a terrible job explaining this, but I think you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, it's the liquidity tells you that you're going to quickly turn that inventory and make a profit off of it and not run the risk of dead inventory.
Yeah, so it might be a smaller profit, but quicker and more of it. Like if I buy 1,000 quarter cards and I list them all, I might sell 100 of them in the first week or two. If I buy 1,000 $1 cards, I'll probably sell like 700 of them.
Right.
Assuming I was buying correctly, right? You're
It's a
assuming I'm
better
doing
mix.
my job, but yeah.
It's a better mix. Yeah.
There's a little bit more market for it. You're generally getting better names, you're getting parallels, you're getting, non-base, better premium brands, all that kind of stuff. And those pro points add up to enough to add liquidity to it.
Absolutely. So, knowing all those things, what's our outlook in the dollar boxes compared to the quarter boxes? Well, our ROI is probably going to be a little lower, but more consistent.
Yep. I would agree with that.
And a safer floor in there as well. To Adam's point, it's going to be more liquid cards. You should have less risk of getting stuck with that and having dead inventory.
And if you do, you can easily throw that on a live show, put it in a lot, and get the rest of it moved that way. And just at least, even if you break even on that stuff, if you made on the other stuff, you can now take that capital and put it into your next buy.
Yep, absolutely. And that turnover speed, that turnaround for that inventory is typically in that moderate to fast range now.
Yeah, I would definitely put it in the moderate. I mean, just those cards that I showed earlier, here's a nice, silver foil parallel Dan Marino. A popular 2000s insert, Tim Brown. Tim Brown stuff sells really well, in case you didn't know. There's my freebie tip for you tonight. Fleer 97 Fleer Metal, Marshall Falk, just a set that always sells. Roger Staubach stuff, easy money. Drake May, fairly hot quarterback coming into his second year now. You got your silver Joe Montana I showed you earlier. Like, it's just, that stuff's just all no brainer to find buyers.
Right.
And find them quickly. So do you remember all those orange or gold cracked ice Prism Draft cards I bought at the $1 table that dropped to 75 cents on Saturday? And I bought like a huge stack of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spent, half hour one day and just listed them all, and I sold every single one of them within like 2 days. They're fairly common cards. I think they were like one per pack for hanger packs or something like that. They were one of the retail, exclusive parallels. So you were guaranteed to get some in those boxes. But they're gold and they're cracked ice. Like that's money vision to a buyer. So somebody that's not even looking at buying it for value, they're going, oh my God, look at that gold cracked ice card of Dak Prescott. I have to have that for my Cowboy collection. And they just did. They're not common, or they're not uncommon. They're not serial numbered. They aren't particularly fancy cards, but just instant liquidity with it. So
Yeah.
And you're not going to find them in a quarter box, though, right? You'll find them in a dollar box, but you won't find them in a quarter box. So you don't have the opportunity, if you're not buying at the dollar level, to get stuff like that.
For sure. Well, now that we know a little bit more about what to expect out of quarter boxes versus dollar boxes, I think now we can kind of go into really talking about that playbook and a strategy, and really understanding how do we want to use that information, and maybe a few pro tips along the way as well.
All right, real quick before we get into this, I want to remind everybody, please give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video, and all of Charlie's hard work on the presentation materials today, and my great brain ideas. That's what you're watching here in action.
Your mind.
And your mind. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to be notified of any future videos. It'll also send you a reminder when we're going live, because I know some people are like, oh, it's Wednesday, it's 8:00, I missed the live. Well, if you ring the bell and you're ready for notifications, you'll never have to miss a live again. So, and thank you all for watching. Appreciate you. All right, go ahead.
All right, so digging in sport boxes, digging to win in sport boxes. Now that we know all of that, what are some of the strategies you want to hit? Well, one of the things that I'm trying to do a better job of is hitting those dollar boxes first. If that's going to be the easier flips, the faster cash flow, a little better inventory, I want to try and get those before they get picked through sooner. And then I'll come back and hit the quarter boxes later.
And I think this is the perfect time to deploy this and to talk about this, because I feel like, and you and I have talked about this over the past, year or two. Let's say a year ago, we were trying to do this and we're like, man, we just can't find anything in dollar boxes we can really make returns on. And we ended up back in the quarter and the dime boxes, which we were making good returns on. I found at the National last year, I found a $180 card in a dime box. One of those Monsters Inc. cards, those Blu-ray special cards that I sold. And not only that, I found 6 other cards from that same set. So I ended up clearing like $500 in those 50 cents. We just weren't finding anything like that in dollar boxes. But I think that's changing, because there's some less focus now going to those dollar boxes and under, and it's how many kabooms and how many downtowns do you have that you can sell to the repackers? That's really the focus. So this is probably going to be one of the best opportunities to get into some dollar boxes right off the bat and find some good margin. I actually buy out of the dollar boxes quite a bit at our local card shop. The buyer there does a nice job, gets some good stuff, and sells them at a really, really fair price. I can't even really get a bulk discount because they're retail, but I found tons of stuff to flip, for good money. I bought a Barry Sanders numbered out of 59 for $2. Like, come on. Did I say I had a numbered out of 59?
Yeah.
I meant 49. Why would I say 59? That's so weird.
I don't know, but I was going to let you go with it.
What cards are numbered out of 59? That doesn't make sense. Anyway,
I actually talked to that dealer today, and we talked about that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even look at your stuff because Adam always beats me, and I know they're picked through before I get there.
Yeah, I buy out pretty good, because it's like, to me, it's like going to a show and being the first one in a dollar box, because the people that go in there that are buying cards are not us generally. So they're not in there, it's not like at a show where everybody's digging the boxes trying to find the value. They're just trying to find cards that they want to buy, which is great. I mean, that's what a card shop should do. But I found a lot of opportunity in there. Because when I go in and I look at them, and he'll usually tell me like, "Hey, I just put some new stuff in this box. May I want to start here?" And so it's been good. I've got a good relationship with him as well. They
Yeah.
also are kind enough to promote our show and hand out our flyers, and he also sets up at our show. So it's good. Everybody's winning. That's what we want. We're all winning.
Yeah.
We're all Chuck Sheen here, Um, but yeah, I agree with you. I'm doing more of dollar box first, quarters and dimes after. My one possible exception to that is going to be when I go to Gabe's boxes at the Green Bay show.
Hmm.
Um, I just do so well in his quarter boxes and his dime boxes, and it's really just stuff he's looking to get rid of, and I found some nice stuff. Little bit more margin in it than I found in some of the dollar box stuff. So,
Sure.
but
Sure.
outside of that, yeah, I really think um, we could talk about this off the show too. But I know of a dealer that's setting up this weekend that we got to go to right away. So
All right.
remind me that we talk about that later. But
Sounds good.
but yeah, I think we're going to start seeing more opportunity for that as less and less people are going to those boxes and trying to play the flip life, in a different way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we see that this weekend.
I love the idea here of layering them together. And we touched on this before. Move your quarter fines into those $2 bins to cover your table rent when you're putting a table up at a show, and then list the dollar fines as $5 to $15 eBay flips for the real profit there.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about I've bought out some dealers, and that's one of the things I do with those. So let's say it's a 50-cent box. When I buy the dealer out, I'm getting them, let's say 10 cents a card. I just put them out as 50-cent boxes. I don't have to
Yeah.
do any work. They've already been sort of sorted by cards that could sell for 50 cents. I don't have to price them. I don't have to do anything. They're sleeved, they're in a box, and they're ready to go. And I just put it out. You've seen my 50-cent boxes in the last few shows, and you're like, "Oh, there's some good stuff in there." I'm like, I don't even have a clue what's in it. I
Yeah.
paid 10 cents. I paid 10 cents a card. I'll take my 50 cents. But
Right.
we were kind of talking about that earlier with quarter boxes. You're buying from a dealer who didn't look at these cards.
Mm-hmm.
They have a small investment in it, and they just put it out. They don't want to put time into it.
Right.
They'll let you spend the time, and then you can get the deal, but they still can make their profit on it.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I kind of like that idea too. Just so if I buy out a dealer and I'm getting 7 or 8 boxes, I'm not going to get all those listed in a week. So
Right.
I always have a box or two that haven't even gone through yet. That's the one I grab and I go to a show. So I have like zero show prep. Just got to bring the box, put it out, and say, "Hey, 50 cents a card, done."
Yeah. For sure. Jay says his best pickups are dealers who only have dollar boxes, and he has to buy their cheap box, and he gets great deals on those, something like $50 for a 5,000 count, and then pull what you want and make that your quarter box.
Yep, that's kind of what we're talking about. I try to do that with any of those. Like I said, if you're buying like a huge quantity, like 7 or 8 boxes, it's a little tougher depending on what
Yep.
amount of time you got. But yeah, I try to pull out like the best stuff that I find, and then yeah, let the rest get recirculated back into the 50-cent market and have at it. And
There you go.
if you don't sell them all at a show, you can always bring them back home, grab a stack, scan them, and get them listed. So you have more avenues to play with than you do, kind of with the 10-cent cards.
Yeah. So if you're gonna back me in a corner and say which is better, quarter boxes or dollar boxes, it's a little tough to say just flat out which is better because they both have different things to offer. But overall, I kind of think of it this way. So quarter boxes, good for lot builds, speculators. We talked about some of those first Bowman papers before. There's a lot of grind. There's some bulk profit to be had, and there's some hidden rookie plays in there. But dollar boxes are going to be more bread and butter for flippers and collectors. You're going to have less big volume sales. You'll sell more singles, is what we're trying to say there, and a higher average margin. Again, consistency in that margin.
So I'm going to pose a question to all of you, and you can answer this back to me. What is the name of my channel? Charlie, do you have any clue?
It's
I know you don't. I know you don't watch my videos, but
it's something about the Cubs suck, right?
no, it's not the Brewers suck.
Oh, it's
Um,
the dollar box.
it's the dollar box. So yeah, I still believe that the dollar that Charlie kind of mentioned it earlier. The dollar box is like that natural breaking point in value, right? You feel like you're getting a better card when you pay $1, even if it's not as good a card as the quarter card or any different than the quarter card, but it feels right. We made some additional pros in the dollar box conversation too, where it was, you get good supplies, you have better condition, more liquidity, better names, less base cards. Like, there's enough there for the reselling side of things that are important. That the dollar box does edge out the quarter box. Now, I am never going to stop buying out of quarter boxes, dime boxes. Hell, if I can get cards for a penny that I like, I'll do that. So, don't. It's not all or nothing here. We're just trying to do some comparison, and I think if I'm to put $50 into a buy today and try to measure profit on that in the next week or two, which we all want our profit as fast as we can, I think the dollar box is the no-brainer side to go with that.
Yep, I would agree.
Now I might make $100 off those cards over a longer period of time doing quarter cards, though. So you could end up with you should end up with a better payout long term on the quarter boxes, but you're gonna have to be able to sit on stuff.
Yeah, and then I think about the changing environment for sellers and the emergence of live selling. I think if we were to look at it through the lens of live selling, then you definitely want to stay more in the quarter dollar boxes than the quarter boxes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So another quick strategy tip here. Start with the dollar boxes to pick off obvious value before other buyers do, then circle back to the quarter boxes when you've got more time to dig.
Yeah, and try to get to the box before Charlie does. That's my number one goal. Because once he's been in it, there's sometimes some pickings left in there, but he's getting pretty good at it. So it's a little
I
bit
always
tougher.
leave you something there, Adam.
You do, and there's
Especially
always
in the volume cards. Like, I rarely grab all 30 copies of something. I'll maybe grab 10, and then you'll come in and grab the rest.
yeah, I love quantity listings. One listing and you put 20 cards out there and they just keep getting plucked out. It's great. Each his own. Something for everybody.
All right. Well, what about the non-sports side of things? What if we look at it the same way, but in the non-sports channel, something that's near and dear to your heart, Adam?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've bought a few non-sport cards in my time, that's for sure.
So the pros of quarter boxes in the non-sports world.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to the sports world, right? No Elvis. That's funny. I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. It made me chuckle. And trying to tell people for years, don't buy
True.
Elvis cards. You would think they would sell. They do not sell.
True story, Joe.
True story. That and pickleball.
Hey.
Anyway, back to non-sport. Ultra low buy-in, even minor flips are profitable. Hidden gems often find parallel short prints or heavily collectible properties. Unknown characters I would kind of throw in there, right?
Yeah.
Like Galactus stuff sells really well, but a dealer who doesn't deal in non-sports isn't going to know who Galactus is. Low risk experimenting, easy to test markets at low cost. Volume buys and great for building lots. These are all true. I think what's interesting about the most interesting part of non-sport versus sports is there's just a lot less of it made.
Yeah.
I'm way more willing to overpay for non-sport cards than I am sports cards, just because I'm probably not going to find it again or find much of it again. So, maybe some of the more modern products are a little more heavily printed. I don't know, but um, I feel like I get higher dollar sales out of it too. Like if I have a Patrick Mahomes, right? One of the best selling football characters or football players. And let's compare him to Wolverine from Marvel, right? Very well known character, possibly the biggest star of Marvel, at least on the X-Men side of things. Um, I might be able to get $2 for a base Mahomes card, and I can get like $5 for a Wolverine card, from good sets. So it's just I feel like the dollars are better in the non-sport. So I do stretch out a little bit more when I'm buying non-sport than I do sports. I just wanted to kind of preface this whole conversation with that.
I like the idea of low risk experimenting. And you and I talk about that. Like, I'll take a chance on some things out of that quarter box of non sport just to just see if it goes. Because I really don't know if it will or not. But if I can get it out of a quarter box as part of a bulk deal, I'll take a chance on it.
Yeah, and some of the weirdest stuff is the stuff that sells first anyway. So
Yeah. Yep. Uh, Garrison Frost is here tonight, and earlier he said he appreciates the visuals tonight. So glad you like it, Garrison. But he's getting ahead of us here a little bit, Adam. He says, "What is the best IP for non-sport?" I'm gonna say let's hold our answers
yeah, we've got
for
some
now.
information for that. Yeah, coming
Yeah,
down the road.
we will definitely
Stick
address that.
around.
But I
Stick
put
around.
it up there to say, chat, go crazy with that. Why don't you
Yeah.
put some ideas out there of what you think is the best IP for non-sport? And then this is for you, Adam. Dan's here tonight. He says he comes in here and he hears don't buy pickleball, but read an article of someone who bought $100,000 worth of pickleball recently.
100 grand worth of pickleball cards.
Yeah, he cornered the market.
Oh, they must have ran out of flamethrowers to take your $100 bills to, huh? Um, he can have that corner. I'll give him the corner, the center, the other corner, the wall, the ceiling. Yeah. So, I like to give it a hard time, but maybe there is something to that in the future. But I just don't see pickleball, uh, you know, grabbing that kind of attention. That would be a good investment. There's other cards that are much better investment for sure.
Yeah, I have to admit it has not been a win for me in the year I've had that one hobby box. So I've moved some, but I still have a number of them still sitting here. So all right, well we better get moving on, or we're going to be up till 1 a.m. doing this. So how about some of the cons of a quarter box full of non-sport?
Again, kind of the same thing as the sports: time intensive, condition risk, and slower single sales, need more volume or bundling. I would also say some of it depends on, and to Garrison's comment earlier, some of it depends on the intellectual property.
Yeah.
If you're buying football cards, they're NFL cards, right? There really isn't much deviation from that. You kind of know exactly what that is. Well, these are quarter cards, and they're, I don't know, some IP nobody cares about, right? Um, I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but yeah, so it's going to matter. Like you need the cards have to have hobby too. So I would say you really need to stick to intellectual properties that have resale
Known commodities.
to the best of your knowledge anyway. And there's
Yeah.
certain ones that are not necessarily intellectual property, but they just have a big collector market, like Garbage Pail Kids, right? Those aren't really licensed characters or anything. But there's a huge community for Garbage Pail Kids.
Yep. For
So
sure.
there's exceptions to the rule. Now, you're buying a bunch of Star Wars quarter box cards, that's a good buy. You're buying a bunch of Disney quarter box cards, those are good buys. Um, but let's say they're Gunsmoke cards. Elvis cards, right? Let's say they're Elvis cards. Probably not something you want to pick up. This doesn't have any resale.
Yeah, you definitely want to stick to those IPs that are known commodity. Well, speaking of that, let's talk about some of those targets that you have a pretty good chance of finding in those quarter boxes for non-sport.
90s Marvel Universe inserts, Garbage Pail Kids and Parallels, early Star Wars, Star Trek, and oddballs, cheap foils, hollows from franchises, Buffy, X-Files, etc.
TV tie-ins, yeah.
Yeah, these are all correct. Like these are all the things that I generally will buy for non-sports. I want to emphasize point number 4 on this one. This is the one that I play the hardest at, and I'm willing to pay up most of the time to get those cult following type things. It's just so easy money, and bigger money than you'd think it is. So I really focus on that. There's lots of Star Wars cards out there. There's lots of Garbage Pail Kids cards out there, and those are definitely things you want to buy and resell. Um, but keep your eye out for the cult franchises and um, that kind of stuff. I bought a couple of big stacks of Dexter cards right at the National, and you're like, Dexter cards, and I'm like, well, he's got a new show out. He's got a huge cult following. I mean, he's been on that. Do you know that show's been on the air since like 2007 or
Yeah.
2008? It's crazy.
Yeah.
He's been on the air for 20 years, So, yeah, I bought those. That's cult classic stuff. It's serial killer storyline. There's all that kind of play into it that, uh, a collector is going to want to be a part of. So, um, that's the one I want to stress the most out of these four tabs. I think the other 3 are pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think so as well. Jay says best non-sport IP is Pokemon. Now, Jay, I'm gonna give you a little technicality here because I think you're absolutely right. Pokemon is huge here, but when we talk non-sport, we exclude trading card games, the TCG market that Pokemon would be in. We consider that typically its own channel with its own rules, its own strategies, its own strength of market. So we typically stay out of talk on that because neither Adam nor I are Pokemon experts. It's just not our sweet spots. But you're absolutely in the right direction there. Like the Pokemon market is huge. In fact, even though I don't know a ton of it, I was in a store just yesterday and there was an Elite Trainer box, and I'm like, what is this going for these days? Does it make sense for me to pick this up even though I don't know it? So that market has just exploded.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Topps Chrome made a Pokemon trading card set? That would be awesome.
Yeah, and that's Jay's close here. He's like, Topps made Pokemon on TCG. Topps made them look it up.
Yeah.
But Jay's is on the right track here with 89.90 Topps Ninja Turtles, the character cards. That
and
is
the
a
stickers.
solid play. Yeah.
And the stickers.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
Yep, for sure.
But that's
all right.
That show at this point is pretty much a cult following, right? Ninja Turtles fans. Yeah. I mean, that's big stuff. Show is still on.
Yep. Well, let's kick it up a notch to those dollar boxes for non-sports, and let's take a look at how those look a little bit different. So pros again, right. Pretty similar, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would think so. Better curation. Dealers typically, they know they're better demanded cards, so they go in their dollar box. Fastest resale, less bulk sorting, higher volume potential, SPs, autos, and refractors, and underpriced cards of those types of parallels. Yeah, I think those are all right on. Um, I would say you're going to get better characters, and that's probably the biggest gain, right? So you want your Batmans and your Supermans and your Spider-Mans and your Wolverines and your Donatellos and your Ahsoka and your Padme, and you look at the Darth Vader, right? You look at like those more in demand, higher profile characters from different shows and movies and stuff, and those end up in dollar boxes more often than quarter boxes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And those are going to be your better buys.
Absolutely. I'm going to give Jay a shout out here too. He called out Thompson 2000 made normal non-sport Pokemon, so not the gaming cards, and he sells those like no others in his binders. And I seem to remember that set. I think he's absolutely right on that. So
yeah, that's something I'm going to have to watch out for, because I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for the tip.
All right, what about the cons in that dollar box for non-sport? Let's take a look at those.
A higher buy-in, some more capital, of course, dealer competition, as well as I would say buyer competition, right? Everybody's racing to those $1 boxes. Lower lot potential, usually need to sell individually, not in lots. It's funny when we go to a show and it's like a dealer might have 10 5-row boxes sitting out. And usually there's one little section in one of those 5-row boxes that says like Marvel or non-sport. It's the first place we run.
Yeah.
If Charlie sees it first, he's there first. If I see it first, I'm there first. There just is not that much of it. So, dollar box wise, yeah, that's I would say the biggest con to this whole thing on the non-sport side is getting inventory. It's hard to get inventory.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Lower lot potential. I don't really care about that. I don't deal with lots. So those of you who are lot sellers, I guess maybe you could chime in on that. Yeah, other resellers are doing the buying. Yeah, it's an interesting non-sport side of this is a little bit more interesting, I think, due to the fact that you just don't see as much of it.
For sure. So what are some of the best targets you can find in the dollar boxes for non-sport? Well, we talked actually the Ninja Turtles a little bit. Character autos and stickers from big franchises. Short prints from Garbage Pail Kids or newer pop culture franchises. Comic tie-in chromium foil inserts, think 90s Marvel and DC masterpieces, and serial numbered parallels. Those would be must grabs in those dollar boxes when you see them. And there's a good chance you will find some when you're digging through the dollar boxes, especially from those dealers. Snappy makes a great comment here. For non-sports, I tend to buy more from sports dealers because they tend to be clueless and better opportunities for value when they've got that random non-sports box out there.
Yeah, and I talk about that all the time. I go to the National to buy non-sports cards. And we come out huge winners by doing that there. But when you read this best targets list, I salivate. Like that is my ultimate dinner being served to me right there. All of those things. That's what I'm looking for. So those are completely dead on. Certain characters, certain parallels, better brands, better releases, refractors, all that stuff. That's all juicy. Garbage Pail Kids, Star Wars, Marvel, DC. Maybe not so much unless you're talking Batman and Superman.
Certain sets, I think.
Yeah.
Jay talks about Dragon Ball Z in the 90s, Harry Potter character cards, video game Nintendo cards. I love selling the Mike Tyson Punch-Out stickers.
Yeah, the Nintendo stickers. Yeah, they're good.
Lady Death, even the artist pinup girls sell. Absolutely.
Yep. Lots of. I was going to kind of make this comment earlier, but I didn't want it to be featured right off the bat. But cards with skin.
Yeah.
When you're looking at non-sport, it captured Leia, Leia bikini cards. Those do very well. Bench warmer cards. Jay mentioned it with pinup cards. I've sold quite a different. There's some really nice, good, tasteful pinup card sets.
I just listed stuff like this today too.
Yeah,
These
Terror
Terror
magazines.
Tales, but they got the pretty ladies in them, right?
Yep. So they're, even like certain actresses, right? So you got, I have Jennifer Love Hewitt cards I picked up at the National. Anything with Britney Spears on, like, there's just some obvious ones that, uh, on the girl art side of things, pretty easy to get out there. White
Absolutely.
Queen from Marvel. Trying to think of what else. Padme.
Yep.
Yeah. So some emphasis. I might pass on other character cards in a box, but I'll buy all the Princess Leia cards or something,
Yep. Absolutely. All right, so we looked at quarter and dollar box. Let's talk about some of the strategies and the playbook and some seller tips for that. Strategies for resellers. Quarter boxes are going to be more of those inventory fillers and bulk builders. As it says here, really great for low-end buyers and set builders, or if you want to build those lots that have a little more of a premium feel to it. The dollar boxes are going to lead you to those quick flips and more single sales, and it's more efficient with that strong ROI. You can spend a little less time and effort on them with a stronger ROI.
One of the things I love about non-sports on the quarter box side is you can find some really fringy characters in those boxes, the non-big name Marvel stuff. But you got a hell of a better chance selling those than you do some random lineman in a quarter box of football cards.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I love that part, because as long as it's like a pretty good set or it's a certain, Marvel universe that's popular or something to that effect, a lot of times I can just take my shot on the quarter card because there's so many different characters that sell versus specific players for sports.
And it's funny you say that. It's almost like you looked ahead to our comments, because there is one key difference that we're going to talk about now between the strategy for sports cards and the strategy for non-sports cards. And that is, in the sports cards, we recommended hit the dollar boxes first and then go back to the quarter boxes. In non-sports, it's flipped. The suggestion is flipped.
Yeah.
Get those quarter boxes first for the volume and hidden gems and some of those oddball things that Adam's talking about, and then finish at the dollar boxes for those singles that move quickly on eBay.
Yeah, no, most of the time, I shouldn't say most of the time, but lots of times I can find better cards in quarter boxes than I can dollar boxes, which seems completely crazy. But you might get like vintage non-sport cards in quarter boxes that dealers just don't know. Like they just throw them in those boxes because they just don't want to deal with them. And some of those 50s, 60s, 70s non-sport cards, there's a huge market for that stuff, and there just isn't that much of it out there. Not nearly as much out there as there is for sports. So yeah, I actually agree with it on this angle. If it's now, for the most part, if I'm at a show and there's non-sport cards, I'm just going to look at them. I don't care what price is on the box, because you just don't see that many, and I want to look through it all. But yeah, at a big show like the National, where we do find a fair amount of non-sport stuff, yeah, I start on the low end first, for sure.
Absolutely.
I start at dime boxes usually, if I can.
Now, if you can go to a show that focuses on non-sports, like the Non-Sports Spectacular or the upcoming show down in Chicago where we're talking about visiting, you're going to have more selection, and then you maybe got to think about a strategy like this a little more than what Adam and I typically find at shows. Is there's not a lot of non-sports boxes, so we don't really have to think about this as much, because we only got 3 boxes to choose from, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to that show and buy sports cards.
Yeah, you probably will. You probably will.
you, you got to zig when there's a zag. That's how you win.
Snappy says, do you consider ease of listing when evaluating quarter or dollar box buys? I assume you can scan way more of the quarter boxes, right?
Yes, typically. I don't know that I weigh that when I'm buying necessarily. Maybe sometimes I do in the back of my mind. It's like, yeah, I could just scan these in real quick. And I've even said that before too. Like, yeah, I've just bought them all because, it's a quick scan. But I wouldn't say that would be like my biggest driving influence as to whether or not I bought something.
Sure.
So, but sure, it's, yeah, it would be less time consuming. Sure. So sure, it's in my mind, when I'm looking at it.
Yeah, we do talk about that. Like, we'll buy a stack of quarter cards and we'll make that comment to each other. Oh, yeah. And I can scan every single one of them.
Yeah. And they're all scannable. Yep. Yeah. And I think when I say that though, I'm not saying, well, I bought it because I could scan them. It's just like, that's a nice bonus off the stuff
It's
that I
another
bought.
piece of the equation, though.
Right. But
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a determining factor in whether or not I bought something.
Right. Right.
Um, Now, non-sport cards in general are more scannable than sports because there isn't quite as much emphasis on the shiny this and the die cut that.
Right.
So, like all those 90s and 2000s Marvel sets, yeah, you can scan all that stuff.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, let's start thinking about some summary strategies on some of these things. So we're still in the non sports boxes. I think this one's a little more important. I think on the sports side, people tend to know the key athletes a little better. They're on TV all the time. People are hyping them up. In the non-sports world, I think it's a little more important to do some pre-show prep to kind of get more familiar with what some of those finds might be out there. So doing a little eBay research on pricing and looking at Garbage Pail Kids, Star Wars, Marvel, set a budget. You should always set a budget going to a show, regardless of what type of cards you're looking at. And then tools. This is user preference. I think I do actually like to bring a magnifying glass because my eyes are terrible at my age. And especially in the non-sports, the markings aren't always as prominent as sports typically does. So if I want to see a year or something like that, I don't typically bring gloves. Now, if you're working higher end cards, maybe that's something you do. But some lists of high demand sets. Some people can keep it all in their head. Some people like to have lists. I actually am a list person. I like to have a list. I sometimes will print out a little cheat sheet for me to say, okay, here's my plan for today and what I'm on the hunt for. Do you do anything like that, Adam?
No, that sounds like work.
Prepare for
I
something? Blasphemy.
I do, and if you watch any of my videos previously where I was going to a show, a lot of times on the drive there, I would say, this is what I'm looking for at this show. But you just have to keep it very loose and very open minded because you literally have no idea what you're going to see there.
True.
So that's, a lot of your list can kind of go out the window in a hurry. The other thing I would say for the non-sports part of it, um, you have to look at what else is going on. Okay. So what I mean by that is, like, is there a movie coming out
Right.
in this property? Is there, is Ninja Turtles hot right now? Like, is there new toys out and new characters and a new show? Is the property kind of dying? Like, okay, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they haven't done anything Buffy in 25 years. Is that, how heavy do you want to go into Buffy stuff? Um, so I think that's a kind of an added responsibility when you're buying trying to resell non-sport cards that you don't have in sports.
Sure.
Because the NFL season starts, it has the Super Bowl winner, and then it's done. And then the NFL season there isn't really much variability to how that processes versus, like Buzz Lightyear has a new movie coming out. Well, should I go buy a Toy Story stuff? You need to kind of have a little bit of a feel on the pulse of pop culture if you're going to do non-sport.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So number 2, again, in non-sport world, start with those quarter boxes, build that bulk inventory, find those hidden gems. And there's Snappy's point. Scan quickly. Not just with the scanner, but as you're going through the boxes, try to scan quickly because you do have so much volume to get through there. Look for those recognizable license, hollows, character cards, pull anything unusual or older than 2010 that looks sellable. So, Adam, you kind of hit on this before. Like, if it looks interesting in the non-sport world, go ahead and take a chance on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, anything like, I bought hologram RV cards before. Like, how random and weird is that? It's perfect. And they sold right away too. So yeah, I think you just have to, on the non-sports side, you have to keep more of an open mind than you do on the sports card side, like say pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
You really want to stick to, for the most part, the main sports or sports people buy and collect. Whereas non-sport, I mean, yeah, that's still true to some degree. You have to stick to the things that there's buyers and sellers out there for it, but you have to kind of broaden yourself a little bit because there's a lot more properties than just the 4 major sports when it comes to non-sport.
Yep,
there's lots of times where I see cards in boxes and I'm like, they made cards of this show, and
right.
and I'm like, that's so weird. But like, what was that? I think it was just called Aliens. The show where it was like the alien who lived on Earth and he became a police officer and he was working with the other, planet Earth police officers and had to deal with like racism. I guess that would actually be like speciesisms. Anyway, I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah, I was like, man, they made trading cards of this show. Like, it's so random, but that's kind of what I love about it too.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
The other thing with non-sports cards versus sports cards that makes them different is there's a lot more nostalgia. Alien Nation, thanks, Snappy, you saved my life.
Yeah.
There's a lot more nostalgia into the card collecting and non-sports than there is with sports.
Yeah.
So you go, well, Ninja Turtles. Well, that's not that big right now, but it was huge when I was a kid. So they're the people my age, collecting cards are like, I would love to have some Ninja Turtles cards.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. I'm not saying like you don't want cards of the players you watched, in football when you were a kid. There's obviously nostalgia in sports cards too, but it's more prevalent and heavier in non-sport.
Yep, I would agree with that. All right, so you've scanned through them, you've pulled some of that older stuff that looks sellable, sorted out, separate those commons from the semi-valuable cards and potential rare finds. And then if you're going to bundle some things up or make those lots, now's the time to do that. Some suggestions on how you might do that. Grouping by theme or license is always, a good starting point with those. Star Wars, Garbage Pail Kids, Marvel, what have you, just to give you a starting point on that. As Adam said before, we don't do a ton of lot building. I do a little bit. I don't know if you do any at all, Adam.
Not really. It's too much pain in the butt, and you're gonna end up selling the cards cheaper anyway. So I just offer good coupons, and I let people make. I consider myself selling lots, but it's my customer goes out and picks out what cards they want in their
Custom
lot.
lots, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I had a 240 card sale today. Like that's basically a lot, right?
Yeah.
but I didn't have to curate it. I just listed all the cards. So I had options. I could sell it as a single, I could sell it as a couple of cards, or I can have this one dude come in and buy the whole shot.
Yep.
And I end up getting more money that way than selling it as a lot anyway. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I'm not a lots guy. I'm nothing wrong with lots. It's just not for me.
Sure. So last step there, step D, flag for a deeper check. So I think this is especially true on the non-sport side, just because the sets can go so deep and there's not as much common knowledge. But I think it's always a good practice to kind of set some things aside to go back and research a little bit more to make sure you fully understand the rarity, the value of that. So, double check some of those things: holographics, foils, obvious inserts. Make sure you don't miss out on something there.
And buy upper deck cards because they actually tell you what the damn parallel is on the back.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
worth everything.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
All
Now,
right.
now Tops really confuses me because they'll put refractor on the back on some cards if it's just like the regular refractor.
Yep.
But if it's like the cubes refractor or an aqua refractor, then it doesn't even say anything on the back. It doesn't even say refractor.
Yeah, or if it's an insert set that everything is a refractor finish, they don't put anything on it
Cor-
either.
Correct.
Yeah.
Super annoying.
Yeah. All right. What else?
Do better, Tops.
Moving to dollar boxes. So your goal is to find those quick flips and higher value singles and scan for those hot items. You did that research before of some of that eBay comps. Now's the time to put that to use. Trying to recognize some of those cards you maybe saw or some of those sets. Checking for those serial numbers, autographs, or limited runs, and a condition check. Look at those corners, the edges. Only take cards worth reselling. Now that's to the buyer's choosing, right? Like that's a
Yeah.
nuance in the market that it takes a while to learn. Like Adam and I vary quite a bit on that. He sells more conditioned cards that have more older cards that have some issues on it than I take the time to list. I always hear Adam in my ear when I find a card and I'm like, I'm not going to list that on eBay. I'm just going to throw it in my value box. And then I hear Adam, well, I sell a ton of those with a little bit of a condition issue.
I mean, I've sold stuff that, went through washing machines and it really doesn't matter. Some people like that kind of stuff. You have to price it accordingly. Like you
Yeah.
can't price it at mint prices and don't list it as a mint card, of course. List any condition issues, you can with it. But yeah, I'm shocked sometimes at like miscut cards. I sell miscut cards really, really hot and for good prices. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, condition isn't the only reason. It shouldn't be the only reason to pass on something if you're going to buy it.
Yep. Yep. Let's Go Sports Cards says he also notices that with Star Wars cards, they don't put anything on the back to tell you which parallel it is or anything.
It's just so weird to me that they would print refractor on like regular refractors, but then put nothing on any of the other ones. Like, what are
Right?
you doing? Like, what
Yeah.
would motivate you to do that?
Oh, it's more ink we have to print.
And like, that's the one parallel we know what it is. We know refractors, right?
Right. Right.
But when it's this like prism refractor or whatever, what is that called? And then you don't even put refractor on it. So now, like, you have to make sure you take good photos because somebody looking at it's going, well, that's not a refractor. It doesn't say refractor on it.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just so annoying. It's so annoying.
Let's Go
I think
Sports
they're
Card
screwing with us. I
also
think these.
agrees with you on the condition. Says especially low end, most people aren't buying the grade.
Yep.
Now I would
Yeah.
agree, most people aren't, but every week I get someone who sounds like they want to grade the lowest base card. And they're like, is that this on that card? Is that on that card? I'm like, dude, it's $1.99 card. Like,
And I hardly ever get that ever.
really?
Yep.
Yeah, I get it. We hear about it in the Discord a lot of times too.
Sometimes I'll get like I can't tell in this photo, is it the refractor? Like if they want to know it's a certain parallel, I'll get, but
Yeah.
that's very rare I get.
No, I get the
Yeah, I don't know.
$1.99 card. Oh, that corner looks a little soft. Can I
Nope.
get closer images on that?
Yeah, I very, very rarely get that. And if I ever do, it's on something that's a big card, which, is a little
That
more
would make
fair.
more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Grab high ROI singles. So get those listed right away. Definitely grab those out of the box and keep a running tally of at least in your head of, what am I paying for this versus what is the market? I mean, doesn't make any sense to grab things that doesn't have a market to support it, right? So you should always have those numbers in the back of your head. You make your money on the buy, right, Adam? So you have to know those numbers.
1,000%. And that's basically what I do when I go through a box. I go, okay, these cards are a quarter. Great. I have my baseline price in my head and I pretty much know what I can pay for it based on bulk. And then I go from there. I flip through the first card and I go, no, I'd list that for $2. I'll pass. It's going to sit. It's not a hot property. Next one, oh, this is a hot property and it'll only go for $2. Fine. It's a quick flip. I'll buy it then.
Right.
Oh, this one I'll list at $5. Well, that's a buy. You know, and I just constantly look at the margins and what I'm going to be asking for something. Um, then that ultimately determines what I buy
Yep.
most of the time.
Now we go into the post-show organization. So let's label and categorize our buys, sort those things out with what you want to do with them. Photograph and list, get those high-value singles out first, right? The best margins you can get, let's get those out right away. No sense sitting on those.
Yeah,
And then, go ahead.
whenever I make a buy at a show, I kind of do that. I don't sort it by like sport or any of that. I generally sort it by what do I think is going to sell the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
Anything serial numbered or anything where it's like in season for the sport or something like that. That rises to the top of my stack, and then I just keep working down the stack until I get to the stuff that's not going to be as liquid.
Yep, absolutely. And then once you get through those high ROI, the high value singles, if you've got some of those remaining quarter box pulls that you want to move in bulk, that's when you come back and work on that.
Yep.
All right, pro tips. Time management, that's a big one, Adam.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge. Yeah, it's 70% of your time scanning quarter boxes, 30% on dollar boxes. Yeah, I don't know that percentage necessarily works out that way every time, but to me, I just look at it as I want to use the time to the best of my ability at a show. Because you're not guaranteed to get better stuff out of a dollar box and you're not guaranteed to get better stuff out of a quarter box. So you just need to manage it. If you're really banging it on some quarter boxes, well, then you have to give up the opportunity and looking at boxes somewhere else because you're sitting in a good opportunity. You don't want to give up an opportunity for a potentially good opportunity either.
Right.
If that makes sense. So it's full of decisions. Do you always make the right one? Of course not, because you don't know what else is out there, or who else beat you to it or whatnot. Um, but I just try to go, hey, is it going to be worth my time sitting here and going through this? Yes. Okay. Well, then I have to ignore what the other tables are because I'm
Yeah.
not going to get to them right now. So
Yep. And look for those hidden gems, old sticker cards or promo cards. They're often mispriced just based on a lack of knowledge from the dealers throwing them in that box a lot of times. It's just such a varied market for non-sport. You're going to find more of those hidden gems. Get some bulk leverage, quarter box fines. Keep in mind those eBay lot builders and dollar box fines equal
yep.
individual flips more often. This last one, I think that's unique to the non-sport compared to sports as well. I think you do want to check comps more often when you're dealing in the non-sports, just because there are so many random properties out there. and I think it's harder to recognize the value, especially if you're not that experienced. We often say, look, you're not going to be at a dollar box comping every card. And I think that that is
Yeah.
absolutely true.
Um,
But you might want to pull out your phone and check a few more at the non-sport box than you would at the sport box.
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Um, there, it's almost impossible to comp some things too. There's so many non-sport cards I find that has never even had a sale
True.
reported. It's so weird. I bought those. Do you remember those Tarot Levi's jeans cards that I had?
Yeah.
Do you remember the '90s Levi's jeans commercials where they were like, how everything in the '90s was in your face, right? Sega, that kind
Yep.
of thing. And it was like 501 jeans, and it had like all these weird perspective, shots of these kids putting jeans on or whatever. I found some tarot cards. I have no idea. They must have been from magazine or something. And so of course I bought them. But I'm going to buy that out of a quarter box. But I tried looking some of them up, and there's like none of them that have sold ever. I'm like, how's this even possible? I guess if I dug further into like Worth Point or something, maybe I'd find it. But yeah, that's the only thing you have to be careful of. Don't get frustrated, or if there just isn't anything listed, don't just assume it's not worth anything and that's why it's not listed. It might be worth everything and that's why it's not listed because nobody's got one. So, and I did very well on those Levi's jeans cards. I was getting 10 to 15 bucks a piece for those. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't pass them. The Monsters Inc. Blu-ray cards. I couldn't find any of those listed either. But I'm like, yeah, Monsters Inc. is cool property. They were only included in Blu-rays. There aren't that many out there. A lot of people probably chucked them,
Yeah.
you know, or they got lost or the kids took them or whatever. I'm like, you have to run those little kind of scenario, possibility through your head and you take all that information you got, put it all together and go, do I think this is going to be a good buy?
Right.
And what's my risk? If your risk is a quarter, you should probably buy most of the time then.
Yeah. That's where that lower risk is really a value in that quarter box and those non-sports selections. All right, we're almost to the
Nice.
end. Are you
Okay.
hanging in there?
We're doing it. Kind of. I'm getting tired. The yawns are coming.
All right, dollar box targets for non-sport. Well, modern pop culture sets are one of those areas there's opportunity. Stranger Things, I just listed some Stranger Things tonight. I pulled an upside down numbered out of 99 out of a value box when I think we
Nice.
were down at the National where I pulled it out.
That's awesome. That
Yeah,
should be an easy sell right now.
should be. Yep, getting ready for the last season. Rick and Morty, isn't that where you had the card last week we talked about?
Mr. Poopy Butthole?
Mr. Poopy Butthole. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we talked last week as well about the popularity of those hollow foil sketch cards and character inserts. Probably can't overemphasize that enough. Like in those modern sets, that's where most of the money is. Marvel precious metal gems and foils. Talking sets like Fleer Ultra, Metal Universe. Even the low tier characters have demand in those sets. And then
Yep.
Star Wars Galaxy. I love me some Star Wars Galaxy. Mandalorian inserts I have not had as much success with, but Star Wars Galaxy, whew, I will put time into that every day.
Yeah, I bought like 10 complete Galaxy sets at our last GOAT show, and or the GOAT show before that. I don't know. One of the GOAT shows. That's been a great buy.
Yep.
So many great cards out of there. A lot of artists renditions of stuff, and those kinds of sets can't be made now because Disney would never allow that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it was kind of unique to its time, where it was a privately owned company by Lucasfilm, and they gave a lot of artists
Free reign.
flexibility to do projects, to do parodies and do drawings and do different things. And it was amazing. Yeah, I would love to see some properties open up that way a bit again.
Yeah.
I get needing to get the dollar and paying your shareholder. I understand all that, but um, you can do that and also have some creative freedom.
Yep.
I think that's smart. It did Star Wars really good during those times, that's for sure.
Yeah, I brought a ton of Star Wars Galaxy home from the National, and it's probably one of the best purchases I made.
I really like the Masterpieces set. That's my probably my favorite. But the
Yep.
cards are hard to find and they're fairly expensive, so
Sure. Yep.
not always in our best wheelhouse. But yeah, I've there's so many nice cards from that set. I really like the space set that we bought at the National too. I can't think of the name of that the padded box Star Wars packs that
Oh,
we bought to get
hyperspace.
the
Yeah. Yep.
hyperspace. I really like those cards too. You know, the chrome, but they had some nice parallels and stuff. Yeah, they do a really good job with a lot of the Star Wars products for sure.
Absolutely.
The Costco
Well,
boxes, I love the Costco boxes.
those do good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how about some of those evergreen favorites here on this list, Adam, in the middle?
Garbage Pail Kids, Star Wars, Star Trek, and Disney. Yep, that's it. That's the four horsemen right there.
Four Horsemen and non-sport, right?
Yep, for sure.
And vintage 80s and 90s nostalgia is a good play as well. So those early 90s
Yep.
Marvel Universe.
Yeah, DC Masterpieces, X-Men Fleer Ultra, promo cards. All those are definitely good plays. And I'd also say like 80s wax pack stuff with stickers, especially.
Yeah.
You had everything got a trading card back in the day. I mean, you got Knight Rider and He-Man and Superman and Batman and uh, Goonies and Jaws. Like
Gotta bring
every
up.
movie that came out got a trading card. It was awesome, and that stuff does really well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're in the home stretch here. So quick flip traits to prioritize when you're talking non-sports. Definitely those numbered parallels. I like that they call out anything less than out of 199. That's always a tough one. So there's lots of cards that are numbered, but what is rarity really defined as, right? Somewhat subjective, but not every numbered card is has that much value on it, right?
Yeah, yeah, and there
Uh,
could be multiple versions of out of 199 in a set too. So
right.
it's not even like there might be a set that comes out and there's 7 different 101s. Well, is it really a 101 if there's other 101s in the set? So there's a
Yep.
lot of that can be debated.
Yep. And the flips can be character driven. Main heroes and villains are almost always greater than the side characters.
Yep.
Foil hologram finishes. I like this one because we've talked about this since day one we worked together, Adam. Shine sells.
Yep. Shiny gold cracked ice cards, right? We just talked about those.
Yep.
Um, if it looks cool to you, if you're flipping through a dollar box and you stop because you got to check out this card, probably one worth buying.
Yeah, absolutely. And autographs and sketches, even of the lesser known actors, can move. So
Of
I
good
can,
properties, yes.
yeah. So some of my sales recently have been like the puppeteers and the voice actors behind different Star Wars characters that most casual fans couldn't even pick them out of a lineup, right?
Sure.
Um, but they still move, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we're gonna bring it all together here with a final rule of thumb. If it looks unique, shiny, or serial numbered, simple rule, pull it. Non-sport collectors are driven by character and visual appeal more than stats, so eye-catching cards and dollar boxes are usually undervalued.
I would agree with this. It's more a piece of art than it is a representation of a person and their statistics in a sport, like a sports card is. So uh, there's plenty of boring non-sport cards, unfortunately.
Sure. Yeah.
Just a character just standing there, no real good border. Those aren't going to do that great, but you get a really nice, action shot of a big name character. That's the right way to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, if it looks unique is one of the things I always think about when I'm going through a box. I may know absolutely nothing about that card, that property, that character, but I'm like, that's unique. I don't come across that very often, and it caught my attention. It's probably going to move with somebody else who has the same reaction to it.
Yeah, and if it's coming out of a quarter box, absolutely. If it's coming out of a dollar box, well then you might, need to evaluate a little bit, what you can get back out of it, so you don't have that capital tied up. But if it's only a few cards in your stack that you're thinking about that way, I say grab them. Make yourself a nice bulk deal so you don't have much capital into it, and should do just fine.
Yep. Well, I think it's time to answer. I believe it was Snappy who asked earlier. What do you think is the top IP name out there in the non-sport world?
I would say Star Wars.
I'm with you 100%. I would say Star Wars as well. In fact, on last week's show, I think we talked about sales volume of Star Wars. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I mentioned in non-sports, Star Wars is king. How many years now do we have Star Wars properties going? What was it, 70, 78?
It came out the year I was born, 1977. So,
77? Yeah.
yep, yep.
So, and it's been
Yeah, it's not going
strong.
away.
Yeah, strong year after year, and new things coming out every year. It's hard to beat Star Wars as an IP. So that would definitely be my answer there. All right, so we talked about the whole premise of the show tonight was quarter box versus dollar box, Adam. So what do you want people to take away tonight from that discussion?
I think just to when you're going to go to these shows and you're going to look in these boxes to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Create some structure of what you want to do, what you want to look for. Oops, I got bounced. Huh?
No, you're there.
Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Um, Try to go in with some sort of a plan, but keep an open mind because you don't know what you're going to find, and just keep your head in it. So it's kind of like stocks, right? You want to buy the idea is simple, right? Buy low, sell high, but it's
Yep.
harder to act that way. So you need to go in and look at you know, um, do I think I can sell this card for a profit? And start with that simple question to yourself. And if you can, go for it. If you're not sure, maybe look it up. If you say, no, I don't think so, or it's going to take me a long time to get it, then that's something that you should pass on. I think you need to keep it that simple. Um, and then you can complicate it from there if you want, when you're looking at bulk and buying out dealers, and, the project gets bigger, it's a little different thing to evaluate. But
Sure.
and then just take our tips, okay, well, these are hot properties. This property is going to have a movie coming out, so it's a good time to buy something right now from that. Consequently, pass on things you think are kind of dead, right? You haven't heard about them for a long time. You know, strawberry shortcake. Well, that's a bad example. Strawberry shortcake's kind of popular again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something that, was big when we were kids and isn't now. That might be something
Smurfs.
that you want to pass on. Sure, there you go. Although I'd buy Smurf cards if I found them. So, to be fair, yeah, just get yourself some experience, get some time in the game. Practice, right? Go into a shop where you don't have to buy anything and kind of start thumbing through some of their singles boxes and do some comps, and in your head put together, well, what would I offer this dealer if I pulled out these $51 cards? How can I build rapport with them? Do I do I pay up to what they're asking this time, and then next time say, hey, remember me? I bought a bunch of stuff off of you. Can we do a little better this time? And work your deal that way. But yeah, just go back to the principles of the buying and reselling approach, and you should be okay. And take some chances, buy some stuff, buy some pickleball cards. It's fine. It's not a big deal. You got to have some plays where you're gonna stretch out a little bit and find out what it's all about. And that's also one of the best ways to learn. A lot of times we learn just from failing, right?
Yeah.
I bought one of those cards before and I never sold them. Never buying it again, right? That's it can be just as good to know what not to buy as it can to what you should buy.
Yeah, probably more valuable.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, some of the votes are coming in on the best IP. For Jay, he says it would be the Marvel franchise. That's
Sure.
where his money's at.
Lots of characters.
Yeah. It's solid. I'll give you that.
Yep.
For Dan, he says his vote's Ren and Stimpy.
Nice.
Certainly Joy.
Some awesome 90s Ren and Stimpy cards out there, by the way.
I need to start PCing log cards.
Oh, okay. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood.
It's log.
Yep.
For me, I think the takeaway tonight is it is important to have a plan. There's no simple answer to what's better, the quarter box or the dollar box. It depends on what you're doing, right? And
depends on what you find.
What your goal is, what you find. That has happened to us before, where it happens to me all the time. I go into the show thinking I'm going to pursue one path, and then I get on a hot streak with something and it takes me the other direction, which is totally okay. But what you don't want is to be wasting time at a show, just bouncing from table to table and not really accomplishing much, right? Because time has value.
Especially at a show. There's only so many hours that you can be there. So
Yep.
And you want to try to get to the best stuff early.
Yeah. So I do like the concept of, hey, for sports, I probably want to hit the dollar boxes first, circle back to the quarter boxes. But when I think about non-sport, I want to flip the script and I want to probably dig in those quarter boxes if I see them first and then hit the dollar boxes. So I think that's an interesting look at it. And built by, the experiences of many, not just us. So, I think I took some stuff away from this exercise of going through this tonight as well.
Yeah, and even just some good reminders in there, that we haven't talked about in a while, and just the approach on how to do your buying. We're coming into a hot show season. Our show is evidence of that. I mean, we have to bring some of our own tables, by the way, Charlie. I didn't tell you that good news yet.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, we sold out of all the tables they have at the venue, so we have to bring a couple.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but we gotta make sure we cover everything that we need. So there's a good run on this type of stuff this time of year. I think it's a great time to get out there and buy at shows and find yourself a good show. Hopefully you've got one in your area. And look through those boxes. I say dollar box first on sports and then quarters, and then non-sport, make sure you look at every single card regardless of the box that it's in, because you just don't get as much opportunity to look at them.
All right. Well, what else
That's
we got
it for me
tonight?
That's it, man. It's nap time.
It's nap time.
Yeah,
we're we've done longer shows, but lately we've been trying to be consistently at that 2 to 2.5 hour mark. I think that's a good sweet spot. A couple more chats in here. Russell says for him, his vote is Pokemon. Again, I think that is far and away the best TCG property right now. over Magic and many other ones. Average Dave says he would love a modern Nintendo set, such as Zelda, Mario,
Me too.
etc. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yep.
Jay says, I want to buy dollar box cards for $1 or quarter boxes for a dime. Oops, dollar box for a quarter and quarter box for a dime. Yeah, that's the dream, right? That's what we
Of
pursue,
course. Yeah.
to get those
Yeah,
bulk buys down
exactly.
to those. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go. Sports Card says that was well put together, guys. Fantastic information for beginners and more seasoned people. Thank you. Well, appreciate the kind words. That's
Thank
what
you
we
for
do this.
watching.
Yeah. So we want to share our experiences and the knowledge we build. We really feel we're a community, as the Discord going down below there will clue you in on. If you're not
Here
in
it
the
comes.
Discord and you want to have conversations like this regularly, that is a great place to do it. Adam and I don't even lead all the discussions anymore because the community has grown so much. Everyone's comfortable giving each other their knowledge and feedback, and it's really turned into kind of a family out there. We all kind of get to know each other to an extent and expect certain things from each other, and it's really a great community.
Yeah, so the Discord running along the bottom there, there's an invite for you. It's free to join, so consider that. Again, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel and helps get the video out to more people. If there's someone you think would enjoy this video, hit the share button and send it to them. Subscribe to the channel, of course, if you want to see any future content. Ring that bell if you want to be notified. Especially useful to be reminded when there's the live show at 8 Central Standard Time on Wednesday every week.
Yes.
Those of you watching this recorded, again, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Try to join it live if you can, so you can be part of the conversation. It makes it a little bit more fun. Until next time, I think that's about all we have for tonight. Don't forget the Goat Show Sunday, September 28th at the Riverside Ballroom. If you're going to be in the Green Bay area, hope to see you there. Oh, Stuart will be there. He's on his way right now. It takes him a while, so he's going to leave now.
Right.
But Charlie and I will be there. We'll be doing our live show from the stage, so you'll see that Sunday morning on this channel as well. And we'll show you some of our early buys and kind of what's going on at the show. We're not set up, which I think is going to be glorious. We can get around a little bit more, talk to some more dealers, be a little more helpful, and do some more buying and just experience the show on that side of things as opposed to setting up and selling cards. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, remember, when you see the goat, we're talking about some of the greatest of all time.
And remember, you can't sell what you don't list. So scary. See
Take
y'all
care.
next week.